Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I have a very special author guest on my channel. We have the lovely Pepper Basham over here. I'm so excited to have her on my channel. We're going to be talking about Between Stairs and Stardust, which was our buddy read for our Christian book club pick for this month, which I was so excited about because I was like, yes, Pepper got picked. She gets to be on my channel. I'm so excited.
I'm so glad to get to be with you.
I know, me too. Get to see each other again.
Yeah.
So a couple of friends are already popping in. We'll say hello. Hello, Celestria. All my booktube friends are popping in. Teresa,
Great.
hi.
Nice. Good to see y'all this morning. Good morning.
Hello, Flower. Everybody's here. It is such a cute cover. It really is. The blue, and I made my tabs the same color.
Nice.
Blue, purple, and pink, because I needed like a romance color. So I was like, I need a romance color.
Pink is always a good choice.
Yes. But if anybody was wondering, I tabbed sticky notes based on favorite quotes, romance, and Cinderella moments, since this was a Cinderella retelling. So I definitely tabbed a lot of blue for Cinderella.
Good. That's a good choice too in color, I think. Oh, I've lost.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Okay.
I muted myself because I had to clear my throat.
Oh, I was like, I lost you. Oh
no. Sorry.
You went into aerial mode instead of Cinderella mode. So you lost your voice.
Yeah, I did.
So I was like, oh no.
Not that sick yet. Okay. So what inspired you to write this story? How did you come up with the idea?
It was really interesting because I was talking with some friends about modernizing fairy tale stories or telling them in a different way. And I live near Biltmore, and I've always felt, I call it our local castle. So I've always felt like there was kind of this fairy tale mode to it anyway. So one day I was taking a walk around Biltmore, because you can visit it and have a yearly pass, which is what I have because I live close by. And I was taking a walk around it, and I was standing on the lake you read about, the pond you read about in the first of the book, and looking up at Biltmore. And I was like, I wonder what it would be like to set a story that starts right here. What kind of story could I set that starts right here? And then I had an immediate idea of an artist standing on the shore and hearing somebody fall into the lake. And that started the whole process of the story. And I think at the same time, I was kind of either rewatching Cinderella or reading Grimm's fairy tales, or something was happening around the same time. And so the ideas kind of started merging together, and it became this little retelling of Cinderella, which I absolutely adore the story. And I would love to write another retelling in that series.
Yeah, Cinderella was my favorite growing up. I used to rewatch the Cinderella movie all the time when I was little.
It's such a sweet one.
Yeah, and I had the entire book memorized before I could read. The big Disney books, like the ones with like the whole paragraphs.
Yes.
I had it memorized before I could read, and my mom tried to skip pages. She couldn't because I knew it.
You're like, wait, Mom. No,
yeah, that's not how it goes. Yeah,
that's right.
And what was your favorite part to write of the story?
Well, I did like to write that first scene. That opening scene about the rescue was really fun. Because it was so unexpected, right? But I really liked the ball scene. That moment where you get the sweetness of the romance and finally being able to be together. Another scene I really enjoyed was the picnic scene, where we really get to see some of the little bit of banter that happens, and Alice's humor and her sweetness all being at the same time on the page. That I really liked those elements and getting to write those.
Yeah, that was so cute. I do like the picnic scene, and the banter was hilarious.
Yes. And and our sweet hero, he's such a sweet guy. So I wanted to take the elements that we love from the Cinderella story, whether it's in a book form or on a screen form, like even the live action Cinderella. They kept so many good elements from the story of the prince being kind, right? Of being a gentleman, and of Cinderella being tender and gentle and kind, and I wanted those elements to still be a part of what you read.
Did you put any of your own experience into the book? Like, did you see any experiences or any stories?
I was trying to think of that. I don't think there's anything that's specifically from a memory of mine, except, taking elements of where I've done research and seeing people create stuff from wood crafts, where you meet Wren and her father having the toy shop, and just that Appalachian part of it, trying to bring some of that Appalachian heritage into the story. And I needed to, too, because Wren plays a part in, if I ever get to write the second one that goes along with this story, she is the main character of the second one, and plays a really fun part in the next book. But I love bringing in elements of that Appalachian culture, because it could just have easily been the princess and the prince, the castle and all that kind of stuff. But grounding it in Appalachia was really important to me because it's so much a part of my culture.
Yeah, I like those touches of the story, and I've been to Biltmore, but I don't think I've ever been to like the Biltmore village. I don't believe so. I'll have to visit that the next time I go.
Well, you'll have to wait a little while. They've got a lot of repairs going on right now. So
yeah. So my friend asked, do you plan to write any more retellings?
Yeah, so when I have some free time, I would love to write Wren's story, and hers is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling in that same story world as Between Stairs and Stardust. So you would still get that element of both the Appalachian culture and the world of Biltmore, but it would be more with, a grumpy landowner and a young girl who likes to read. So, that kind of thing. And Wren is special because she's very Appalachian, and she's also, I can bring out the Appalachian storytelling, which is such a big deal here in this culture.
I can tell she's definitely a belle, especially with her father kind of.
Yes. A tinkerer, right? He's a tinkerer.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of set it up so I can take it on to that next level if when I can one day, which would be great.
My friend Teresa said she had so many quotes she chose from this book.
Yay, I would love to hear some of your favorites. I would love to hear some of the readers' favorites that they found that they enjoyed too. I always enjoy hearing that.
Oh, my favorite, which actually made it into my book journal of favorite quotes this year, was, "I'm desperately in need of learning about magic today."
Nice.
Yes. And Alice said that. I was like, yes, we all need that every single day.
That's right. Just a little bit.
Yeah. So that was my favorite quote.
Sweet. It was really neat in writing it to be able to pull apart the charm bracelet and have a charm for each chapter, so that people could follow along with what might be happening in the next chapter, because based on the charm. That was really fun.
Yeah, I loved the charm bracelet. I thought that was such a unique idea to go along with the Cinderella story. I was like, that is so cute.
Yeah, that was really fun to get to do. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to do the same thing with Wren, but maybe I could just do like book title or something, or book character. I don't know. I have no idea. I have ideas about her story, but I've not thought about something related to the charm bracelet.
I was going to say, if you ever like reprint this, you could like do like merch and have like little charm bracelets with all the charms.
That's right. In that free time we were just talking about.
Yeah. Virginia said this was one of her favorites from last year.
Yay! Oh, Virginia, thank you. It's so good to see you, and I love your profile picture. That's adorable.
And Courtney says the best Cinderella adaptation is The Slipper and the Rose. I don't think I've ever seen that.
it being movie adaptation, not story adaptation. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've watched it. Now I've got something on my list to do. Homework assignment.
And another friend said Cinders of Glass by Celeste Baxendale is a good Cinderella retelling. It's her favorite, I guess, so far.
Oh, nice.
And Virginia said, sign me up for Ren's story now.
Yay! Yeah, but I got to figure it out. I have some really good ideas for it. And especially since it's set in a more modern time than the original, I can make some references that are fun, like references to Frankenstein and being a monster. Some people who are grumpy, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So what's your favorite part of Biltmore? Is there a specific room that you get a lot of inspiration from?
Of course there is. I mean, how can you doubt it? It's the library. I love the library. I think I love it. Of course, I love it for the books, but I also love it because you have a secret entryway. You have a spiral staircase. You have it's double layered, so you have 2 stories of books. There's something about it that automatically, I mean, anytime you can think of a secret doorway, come on, anytime you can think of something like that, it automatically adds a little extra coolness to any kind of room. I would, if I could rebuild a house, wouldn't you want to rebuild one that had like just a little secret room somewhere? Yeah. I mean, hello, count me in, right? And so the library is definitely a favorite. I also love, there's a room right above Miss Vanderbilt's room, and you have to do the extra tour to get to see it. And it was the room, I think, where George's sister would stay when she would come. George Vanderbilt, his sister, would stay when she was coming. It's the Rose Room, and there's something about it that's just very elegant and beautiful. And since it's also the floor above, you have even better views out the windows. So I think that would probably be one of my favorite bedrooms.
And that's where you'd stay if you had the chance.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, if I could, become very close friends with that family and say, excuse me, could I? Yes, that's definitely.
So in the book, you mentioned Mr. Collins. Is that a nod to Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice?
I don't know. What was his character? I can't think of him right now.
He was the guy who spread the rumors that Stella was kind of going after him.
Okay, so probably not, but isn't that cool?
So just because of his attitude and stuff, I'm like, this has got to be Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice.
Go ahead and think that, Katie. That's just fine. That just makes me sound a lot cooler than I really am.
I thought you were just like sneaking him in.
My new goal now is to sneak in a Mr. Collins to every story. Y'all watch for it. It's like the closet scenes. I do sneak my granny into every story. There's a piece of my granny in every story I've ever written. Usually it's some sort of mentor, a female mentor, and there'll be pieces of her personality in every one of the older female mentors of my stories. There are pieces of her. So she's in every one of them. But I don't think I've tried to sneak in like Mr. Collins in every one. So I think we're safe on that one.
Yeah, that actually surprised me when you had Mrs. Bertram, her mentor, actually the godmother of James. I was like, that surprised me. I was not expecting that, especially when she like runs past her. She doesn't even like recognize her because she's so upset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was fun. It was nice to give it a little extra twist at that point, Yeah,
I love that twist. And there was another twist too at the end too that I can't remember what it was. And I wrote it down. Mrs. Bertram and her husband being the 2 people that Stella's father saved in the river. I was not expecting that either.
Wasn't that cool? That was a really fun thing to get to write in there. Yeah.
So it kind of ties it in, like why she kind of mentored Stella.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was important to have a reason for her to be the way she was.
Yeah.
Especially being such different social, statuses at that time.
Emma said she loves how you sneak your granny in. It's like Carol Burnett pulling her ear. Yeah, she used to pull her ear for her grandmother.
Yes, right. It is. I do. I mean, she was the first person who called me a writer, and she bought me a typewriter when I was 10, a secondhand typewriter. And there's something about that awareness that even though it was it was a dream kind of thing. And I wasn't writing fantastic stories at 10, y'all. I have one of my stories from being 10 years old, and I illustrated it poorly, and all the people have giant noses. And so I wasn't like, this wasn't going to be award-winning material, but she saw something in that she wanted to encourage, and she did it by giving me the title for the first time as a writer. And then buying that typewriter for me was kind of like she invested into that dream, and that was really stuck with me. So, and because she was such a storyteller, that also was something that kind of encouraged my love of story. And I love putting little pieces of the character I know that she was, the beautiful, wonderful person, into the older mentors you see in any of my stories. Except in the Regency that Katie's reading right now, I don't know that there's anything about Aunt Bean that would ever remind me of my granny. But maybe Aunt Agatha could have a little bit of my granny, but nothing in Aunt Bean. Aunt Bean, just wait till you guys meet her. She is hilariously horrible.
So there's a part in here that I think I read in another book that was similar. Was it historically accurate that Mrs. Vanderbilt would give gifts to the families in her employ? Because I remember reading a different book that mentioned that as well.
Probably Hope Between the Pages, because you get to actually meet Miss Vanderbilt.
I haven't read that one yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So historically, Mrs. Vanderbilt would go through and buy gifts for all the children of the servants at Biltmore, and then the children would come collect them. I think on Christmas Day, they would come collect them, and she would hand them out one by one to each child. That was a very special thing for her. And I think one of the things that really touches me so much about the whole George and Edith Vanderbilt story is that they were people that they were so far removed from Appalachian culture, the poor, poverty-stricken Appalachian culture. But they came in, and she in particular would ride her horse out to these cabins in the mountains just to sit on the porch and have tea with the people in the community. So they would call her the princess in the castle, right? Because you could see the house from wherever you were in the mountains. You could look, if you had a view, you would see that house sitting in the middle of this open area from where you were in the mountains. You could see it from miles and miles away. And so they always referred to her as the princess. And she would come and be just a regular person sitting beside them on their rickety front porch and having tea with them. And there's something about the heart of that has always touched me about the George and Edith Vanderbilt and their love for my people, the Appalachian culture. So yeah, isn't that a sweet sentiment that she would also buy these gifts very specifically for the children of the workers?
Yeah. Sounds like those are the type of wealthy people you want to know.
Exactly.
Not snobby, like.
Nope. And they had every right to be, kind of boast their status, right? They were millionaires. But she was very aware of people being people. And that was a beautiful thing. She was very invested in the community because she created schools for people to start to practice reading. She created a school for women to learn industry so that they would have jobs, like how to be housekeepers, how to be seamstresses, how to be laundresses. She created a school specifically for women to learn that kind of trade, especially for these Appalachian women who needed, if their husbands had died and they were the breadwinners, they had something they could do to earn money. So she had a beautiful heart for that.
There's one scene in the book that was like one of my favorites, was when she comes up with the idea for the masquerade costume for the ball. And that outfit reminded me a lot of the movie Ever After.
Yeah.
She has the silvery blue dress, the fairy wing.
Yeah, it made me think of that one too. And I don't think I'd made that connection until like after I had written the story and we were watching it again. And I was like, huh, there's that. This is very similar. How cool is that? Yeah. But it also fit the whole idea of the fairy godmother and giving. My goal was to still keep, this story is not a magical story. There's not real magic, but I wanted to keep this element that there could almost be magic in it, right? Because Cinderella, the story, has this magic in it. When you read the original, right, there are things happening that are not normal, right? And so when I wrote it as a historical romance, but I wanted to keep it on the edge that almost there could be magic in it.
All right, so I only have one more question. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. But I usually ask every author who's on here, are you writing anything now that you can tell us about so we can get excited for your new books that are coming out?
You, Katie, when am I not writing something else?
Well, I mean non-secret projects.
Okay, right. So we do know Some Like It Scott's coming out. We know the Highland Heist is coming out, and we know the First Regency, Sense and Suitability, is coming out this year. However, I have signed for a new romantic comedy that will be coming out in May 2026, and it's at the moment, its title is Once Upon a Time, Thyme. And so it is slated to come out in May 2026. There is a very good chance that there'll be the last Freddie and Grace book coming out in July 2026. And I have my second Regency that is untitled coming out in October 2026. So that is the plan right now for what's in the future. And so hopefully I can make that happen.
It's a lot going on, but I am excited because I get first dibs on reading.
Yes, you do. And I'm excited I get to write them. I always am it's amazing and humbling to me, especially when you've pursued writing for a long time and you've pursued the publication for a long time, to finally be at a place where you have the opportunity just to write for the joy of it and watch those become a reality. It keeps me humble that God would allow me the opportunity and that he would give me the desire and also let me have such joy in doing it. It's just such a joy to get to do it.
I know. I love seeing your joy for it.
Thank you. I'm glad it shows.
It does.
We got any questions?
She says she loves punny titles. I know, aren't they
Yes.
cute? I love them.
Yes. Hopefully it'll turn out well. It really fits the story because my heroine is a tea shop owner. And so she bakes all these things. She's the sweet side. My hero is a Brit who's moved to America and is opening a British pub. And so he's the savory side. And so it's going to be a battle of the sides between the two of them. And we'll see what happens. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Are you more savory or a sweet fan?
Food wise?
Yeah.
My mom just said, my mom's over here in the corner and she said, oh, she's more sweet. And I'm like, oh, I probably have a little mix of the both. I mean, I got the sweetness from my mom and the savory from my dad. My dad is salty, was salty. And so definitely got some of that. He was bush in the middle. He was a cinnamon roll, really. It's all true, but he doesn't want people to know that. But yeah, so I like a good steak and I like good Mexican food, but I also am okay if somebody wanted to give me, really great cookies or brownies or, it's really hard to decide.
Yeah. I'm more of a savory fan, but every once in a while, dairy-free ice cream always gets me. Ben & Jerry's dairy-free ice cream. It's really good.
I'll have to remember that because my oldest daughter is lactose sensitive, so that would be good to know.
Oh, it tastes. I think it tastes better than regular ice cream.
Ooh,
it's so good. Yeah. So Em asked, do you still have the typewriter your
Oh,
granny gave you?
oh, that's a great question. No, I don't. And the one she bought me was one of the older models. So the keys were like this far off of the bottom. So when you pressed it, it was like you were going to be diving down for a while to get the letter. You're like, do you mean this letter? Right? You're committing at this point.
Yeah.
So it got to where it broke. And I think when I was about 14, mom and dad bought me an electric typewriter at that point. And so it replaced kind of the old, more manual typewriter that Granny had bought me. And so but I did get the whole experience of the ink, where you're covering over the ink with your white stuff, and the whole process of going, I've just destroyed this piece of paper because it's now more dotted than it is black. and so I got that whole experience, and I got the wonderful experience of hearing the ding, ding. That's a fantastic sound that we miss, I think, from not having that nowadays. But I am very thankful for keyboards and not having to get out the little.
I started using a typewriter a few years ago. I got one, and I was like, I just realized I type so slow. Yes. I'm like, no, this probably isn't good for me.
And then you can't then fixing the mistakes takes such effort. You're like, why am I doing this? But the memory of that typewriter is still very strong in my mind, clearly from my grandmother. And then having the one from my mom and dad later on was just that other reminder that people were invested in this dream, even though it didn't seem like a dream that was, most of the time when you're younger, people aren't saying, oh, go be a writer, you'll be rich someday, because they're like, you'll never have any money. That's really what, don't find something else to do and then add writing. That's really what they say. And so, and that was a good decision for me. Being able to go to school and become a speech pathologist has been a good thing, because that helped me have income while I kept trying to write. And so that's been a good choice for me. It's not everybody's choice, but it was a good choice for me.
Courtney said she can't wait for the Freddie and Grace new books.
Yay.
Me too. Well, I'm excited.
The Highland Heist is in July. And I tell you what, guys, I wrote it in Helene. So there are pieces of it I don't even remember. So you guys tell me what you think when you get it, because it was a tough book to get on paper. But it's always fun to get to be with that couple. It's sweet. They're really just fun and sweet. And since I don't write scary like Jamie Jo Wright, I can put my little bit of intrigue into those.
I do love the intrigue. Cairo Curse is still my favorite, just because
really?
I love Egyptology and like movies like The Mummy and Indiana Jones. So it's my favorite.
Well, I know that the Highland Heist is really fun because you guys, it's not a spoiler, but we get to see what happens. Blake comes back into the story. And I really needed Blake to come back into the story because he's very important to the next book.
Yeah. You haven't sent me that one to read.
But I'm gonna. No, I haven't. Yeah. So there was a comment that just popped up, but I didn't get to read it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I just didn't. It went away because I was talking. Surprise.
No, I clicked it off. Where'd it go? Oh, Em just said started Freddie and Grace in December. Looking forward to reading the rest of the series.
Awesome. I hope you like it. It's very fun to get to travel with them. They get to go to all different kinds of places, so that's fun.
And us readers trying to simultaneously catch up on your backlist and keep up with your new releases.
Well, at least I'm keeping you busy, Virginia.
I know. I still have quite a few of your backlists, but thankfully most of them are like the short novella type, so I can catch up in those.
Yeah, that's good. I think I have 5 or 6 novellas. I can't remember.
Morgan asks, when did you publish your first book and which book was it?
That's a great question, and it's a very important question right now, Morgan. So my 10-year anniversary of my first book comes in May. I will have been published for 10 years. I can't remember which day in May right off the top of the head. I think it's May 7th. It's the date the Lusitania sank. That's the anniversary of my first book being published. And here's the reason why. The first book I published, my characters are on the Lusitania. And so I asked the publishing house if they would make my publication day the sinking of the Lusitania's release, because it was also the 100th birthday of the sinking of the Lusitania when that book released. It was a perfect timing for the things I was writing about. And so this year I get to re-release The Thorn Bearer on its birthday of May 7th, I think it is, and the 10-year anniversary of my publishing journey. So that has I'm very excited about it, that I get to have that special moment of re-releasing the first book, and it has a new cover. I think Katie's seen the new cover, and the new cover is fantastic.
Yes, it's beautiful.
My mom's over here going, "It's beautiful. It's beautiful."
I like it. It's beautiful.
She's like my mom.
Yeah,
Her, your biggest cheerleader.
Yes,
and the actor,
is,
yeah.
Yeah. Mom's over here saying, "Well, second, my dad was my first big cheerleader, and then my mom."
I know. I think my dad is probably the one that I would say would be the one who first saw me as a writer.
Oh,
Because he saw my list making and my imagination. He's like, "You're a writer."
Oh, what an encouragement is that, right? My dad probably would have said I talked enough to be a writer, but he didn't really see the writing thing at first. But he there certainly said, "Youngin, you talk so much." And I was the huggingest youngin he'd ever seen. He'd say that for sure. So what was it? Em says she has an electric typewriter. She had an electric typewriter back in the day, and she wished she'd kept it because you missed the hum and the feel. Yes, I have. You know where you can get the keyboards that you hook up to your computer that simulate the feel of the typewriter? I have that on my computer.
I have that too.
Because I want that click, 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 click. There's something about it that makes you feel like you're making progress.
Yeah. My favorite, I have a keyboard that connects to my phone. It's perfect for going to cafes and stuff. I've been writing on my phone lately, and it's great.
That's a neat thing. I haven't even thought about that.
Says seeing a Pepper book party in May.
Hey, yes, let me know. We'll plan one. I would love to have a big party.
Absolutely.
A big party. It's a big deal. 10 years and that book re-releasing. Very exciting. Oh, thank you, Morgan.
Lucy says, "I love your accent."
Is this Lucy? Thank you, Lucy. I'm not even pulling out all the stops on my accent either. Mine's kind of subdued. I should pull my mom over here and let you listen to her. Or my cousin Spencer. We were talking with him last night, and he can really give you an Appalachian accent that's worthy.
My friend Teresa just posted her favorite quote. She says, "I'm so thankful for you being the gifted writer you are. My favorite quote from the book is, 'Bravery is not walking confidently in the light, but keeping faith even in the dark.'" That was a good one.
Oh, see, it's so great to be reminded of some of the quotes. Right?
Did I write that?
Well, when you think about it, at this point, I've written 29 books. And you go through, and I really want to make books that people remember, but not so much remember as much as maybe remember how they felt while they were reading them. But sometimes it's really sweet when the words actually matter and they want to remember a quote because they're like, "Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for reminding me that I wrote that." Because, of course, I don't remember them all. I should make a quote book like you, Katie, but it would be kind of selfish if I did it just of all my books that I enjoy quotes from. And I have a lot of quotes I do enjoy from my books. So I wouldn't share that. It would seem a little egotistic.
Hey, I would love to know your favorite quotes. That'd be like a really cute book to have, like, my favorite quotes written by me.
Right. Me and my ego.
Teresa said it was a 5-star. It was for me too.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm so glad it was a 5-star book for you. That's amazing. It's interesting though, people, I don't know if you guys rate novellas differently than novels. Because you go in with a different expectation with novellas just because they're so much shorter. And I think that I wonder if people do you kind of adjust your expectations when you go in knowing you're reading a novella versus a novel?
I usually don't. The only time I do is for short story collections, because I know that you're not going to get very much. And usually those are only average ratings. But novellas, I usually just treat as any other book. And if I
Right.
enjoy it, I do.
Yeah. Can they fit a whole story within
Yeah.
this shorter time frame?
Yeah, Teresa says she doesn't.
Yeah.
It is a great title.
My favorite quote's written by me. Because I like to hear myself.
I would buy it.
My mom said she would buy it. Of course.
The first sale.
That's right.
Just write one for her.
Morgan says, what tips or tricks do you have for aspiring writers?
Great question. Okay, so one of the biggest things I've learned, I've had a lot of disappointment in the writing journey. It's not been a Cinderella story. It's not. It's been that long, good things happening, really hard things happening until you finally get published, and then other hard things happening, and you're still getting rejections and you're still building yourself in the process of publishing. So it's not just, it was never this meet the prince, get a shoe, now you're married. It was never that for me. It was a lot of hard work. So here's what I would encourage any new writer to think about. If you're a Christian, I would encourage you to remember who's given you the talents to write and find your joy there. Find your joy first of all, in just creating the story, because nobody can take the joy away from you of your own creativity. And you're going to need to survive sometimes just off of the joy of creating, because you're going to get feedback that's going to be hard, or you're going to get publishers that are going to reject you, or you're going to get, not reject you, but your story, right? You're going to get the hard stuff. So if you can remember what you love about what you do, then that's going to help you keep moving forward. And I think that's really what helps me keep moving forward with lots and lots of rejections, is because I just loved stories so much and I wanted to keep telling stories. And so I would encourage you to, if you have a book you finished and you've been marketing and it's not gotten some good stuff yet, go on to the next book. Don't just keep waiting on that one book. Keep moving forward, and keep trying, because that really does make a difference in keeping your joy in the journey of writing. That's what I would say.
That's a good tip. I love that last tip of, if the first story doesn't work, just keep writing.
And you don't know if you might get to go back and publish that first story, but just because that first story hasn't made it into a publishing house doesn't mean you don't have other stories to tell. And I find that a lot of early writers stop. They just only market that one story over and over and over again, trying to get it published instead of, and that's not wasting time, but it's also not moving forward in your journey either. So I really encourage people, like, okay, you can keep marketing, you can keep sending that book out, but go ahead and start a second. Okay, keep sending those 2 out, but go ahead and start a third. Because the more you have to offer a publishing house, the more they have a chance to see what they might accept.
Yeah. I always keep a list of ideas. Like if something pops in, I just write it down and I'm like, I'll get to it when I'm done with my first book.
Yes, exactly. It's always good to have. I have a file that's called book ideas, because there's constantly something I'm waiting to write next. And maybe it'll be one on that list. Maybe it won't be, but it might. But it's nice to have those in the background so they're waiting to be told next.
Yeah. If you're a Christian, God should always be first in your writing. That's what I always think. I'm like, who are you writing for? Where are your words coming from? So
yeah. I love this comment. Lovely what I said about the about finding joy in it. She says there's a lack of that kind of wisdom in the UK between authors. God is not in fashion. Oh, then people are wearing the wrong clothes.
Yeah.
Right? But it's hard. I mean, the journey is hard. Can you imagine trying to do this writing journey without something much deeper and sweeter helping inform your writing, helping inform your journey? Because just like life, the writing journey is hard. Life is hard. I can't imagine doing life without knowing my life has a bigger purpose and that someone much greater is holding my story to the end and to eternity. So that's a comfort. That's a comfort. Yeah. That also, I think, makes us good storytellers because we understand the bigger storyteller.
Yeah, I know I could never do it. And I told my mom, it's weird. Like, I can't think of what to write, like in between writing sessions. But every time I sit down, I write until like from beginning to end. And like the words just flow. And I'm like, okay, I know this is God because
right. Well, even when you guys mention some of your favorite quotes, I'm sitting here going, well, thank you, Jesus. That's got to be from you because that's way too cool for me to write. So, there are times, I'm sure you felt this way, Katie, where you go back and you reread what you wrote and you're like, wow, that had to have been inspirational from the Lord because I don't know how I could have done that. Or like this past season of being able to finish books under a lot of pressure from because I live in the area where Helene hit. We've had a lot of stuff that's been hard and I'm still on deadline. And I look back and I think, thank you, Jesus, that I was able to, with your strength, finish these projects that I didn't think I was going to be able to finish. It's amazing. And so I can't imagine trying to walk through any journey, whether it's a writing journey or a life journey, a friendship or a romance journey. I can't imagine without knowing that there's a bigger storyteller at work in our lives, being with us, encouraging us, giving us strength, giving us purpose. I can't imagine.
I think we have one more question from Teresa. Would you advise doing a publishing house or self-publishing?
Ooh, that is a really big question. And so I'm going to try to be careful how I answer it because it is an individual answer. Each person has to weigh what they're ready to do and answer certain questions related to it. I've done all. I've done small press. I've done independent publishing. I've done trade publishing too. And so I would say answer the question of what you want about your writing journey. Do you want it to be a career or do you want it to be just something that you enjoy doing as a hobby? Most of the time, what I'm seeing publishing wise for people who want it as a career is they either need to go fast and hard into independent publishing and be ready to take the long haul of putting the time and the money into it. And it's going to take a while to build your readership, but you get most of the financial remunerations from it. Or you wait for that big trade publishing house and let them do the marketing, and you have to deal with the rejections. You have to deal with the long wait of getting into the right story, into the right place at the right time. But then they're the ones who are going to be helping you with your marketing. They're the ones who are going to be helping you with your editing. You've got this team behind you that's propelling you forward, but you have to deal with the long wait of the rejections, perhaps. So either side is most likely a waiting game of some sort, waiting to continue to have the next book out to build more readership, right? To get up to actually making enough money to possibly live on, or the waiting through rejection to get to the right publishing house with the right story, right? So it really has to be something you answer that question for. If you're doing it just for a hobby and it's not something you desire to turn into a career, I think self-publishing is a great idea because then you're in control of what you want. The pressure's low. You're not looking into this to be a long-term goal. Now, and that can turn into a career, clearly, if you end up going, hey, wait, I've got a pretty good knack at this. I think I want to keep going. And then it can eventually you go into that long journey of building your readership and building your income that way. But it's not a quick, neither side. unless those very few stories where they do have the Cinderella story and it's the first book they ever wrote and it was amazing and it was picked up and they became a bestseller and somebody created a movie from it, right? That's the Cinderella story that happens 0.00005% of the time, right? And so the rest of us are usually on the journeys of one side or the other, trade publishing or self-publishing, and we have to decide which journey and which weight we're willing to take. Did that help answer, Teresa? Did that help give you some answer there?
I think it helped.
Yeah, good.
So I think going on this note, Em's wondering how it's going with the recovery rebuilding going there.
Oh, yes. So it's going to be just like you're talking about with California. I can't even imagine with California. After seeing what we've had in North Carolina, I can't even imagine the vastness of what they're going to have to do in California. I mean, we still have grass, we still have soil, and out there, they're going to have to, how long will it take for the grass to grow back in burnt land, right? But it's going to take a long time in this part of the world. There were whole communities that disappeared because of landslides. There are still people who just got their electricity back in the mountains this week, and Helene happened in October. Every time we get rain or wind, things that had been fixed, like bridges or electricity that was working, the bridges will go underwater again and electricity will go out again, because everything's kind of still in a fragile state. Because they're making temporary fixes until they can get back to it to make permanent fixes. So we're still in that state of lots of rebuilding. There are truly communities completely gone. And so those people are still trying to find out how they're going to be rebuilt, if they're going to rebuild there. And so it's going to be years. And so we really appreciate your prayers. There's a lot of beautiful things happening that we get to see God doing in that community of people coming together, churches working together, people sacrificing their time and their funds and their abilities. And that's a beautiful thing in the middle of tragedy, to still be able to see God's hand at work so beautifully. And that's true. That's what's happening in California too.
Leslie said she thought she missed the chat. Aw, I'm glad you made it. She says she's a big fan of yours after reading the Juliet Code.
Oh, yay! So you read it? Did you read the Juliet Code first? She's going to have some fun to catch up on with Frederick and Grace's story, isn't she? Start with book 3. That's fun.
I just finished book 3 last month, so it was good. It was good.
You have to go to
I love
Venice.
Freddie and Grace.
Yes, they are so funny. We get to, in the Highland Heights, we get to go back to America and see what's happened with her sister. So that's where we start. Crazy stuff.
Teresa says, thank you so much for that advice about the publishers.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yay.
So thank you again to Pepper Basham for hanging out with us this morning.
Thank you so much. And Katie, thanks for having me on. I loved getting to chat with everybody on the screen. And I'm hopefully it was encouraging. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed Between Stairs and Stardust.
Leslie said she missed the rest of them, but she's got them.
Yay.
So she'll read the rest.
Leslie, send me a private message and I'll send you a copy of 1 or 2.
Okay, so thank you to everyone. I hope you all have a blessed